Good morning, everyone. Today we are going to be reviewing place value and how to read those numbers. We're also going to be discussing how to change numbers from standard form to expanded form and expanded notation. So lots of good stuff today. All right. Well, let's start with the overall titles that we have when it comes to place value. So we separate them by the decimal and the commas into periods. So we have the decimal period. We have the ones period. We have the thousands period. And the millions. And of course, that goes on to trillions and billions and all that good stuff. Okay, so now that we know the overall titles of our place value, we're going to get into the actual names of each place. So the two biggest place values that is important for our kids to know and that gives them a good base is the point of origin is the ones place, which is before the decimal, and the tenths place, which is after the decimal. If they know those two place values, it is a really good start to give them exactly what they need to be able to figure out the other places that we have. So let's go ahead and continue with our whole numbers. So after ones, we have tens, then hundreds. Sorry, I'm having to curve it a little bit. I'm out of room. But now that's the all of the ones period, the ones, tens, and hundreds. And we move on to the thousands period. So after the hundreds, we have thousands. Then we have the 10,000s. Now we're starting to see a pattern. Then we have the 100,000s. And I'm just doing HUN for the abbreviation for 100. So I can make sure to have enough room. And now we move on to the millions period. So we have millions, 10 millions, and then 100 millions. And again, I'm using that abbreviation for 100. All right. So now that we know our places, for the whole numbers, we need to move on to the decimals. So like we said, after the decimal, we have the tenths, and we can tell that it's after the decimal because how it's ended. We have the THS, okay? And then we move on after the tenths, we have the hundredths. So it's going in the same order. We just don't have, there's no such thing as a one. So we start with tenths. We go to hundredths. And again, there's that THS. And then we have thousands. And then again, there's that THS. Okay, so now that we know all of our decimal places and we can use the same pattern when it comes to billions and trillions, let's start practicing saying some numbers. So I'm gonna switch markers here just so we can tell the difference. And I'm gonna teach y'all how to read a number. All right, so I've got a pretty long number here. Now, when we get to each section, we read it just like a normal number, and then we say the name of the period. So we have 456,321,836. And then when we get to the decimal, we say and. We have to say the decimal and for the decimal. So and 573 thousandths. We're always going to say the last name of the last digit in the number. So let's try another one. I'm gonna do okay. So I have 74,382,519 and 200ths. Okay. So something that my kiddos seem to have a hard time with is that they'll say 519. It's really important that we do not say 519 because that's not true. 519 actually looks like this, okay? Because of where that and is. We only say and when we have a decimal. So please, please, please keep that in mind. All right, let's do one more just for fun. So I'm gonna do 5,794,863 and 9/10. So again, when we get to the decimal, we always have to say the place value of the last digit. Okay, now that we've talked about how to say numbers and how to read numbers, we're going to move on to changing them from standard form, which is what we have here, to expanded form and then expanded notation. Okay, I'm going to start with a smaller number. So let's do, we have our standard form of 5,783 and 1200ths. Okay. So when I'm doing expanded form, I'm literally just taking the number and spreading it out based on its place value. Because we have a 5 in the thousands place, that means that 5 has a value of 5,000. It's not just 5, it's 5,000. So I'm going to do 5,000 plus my next digit, which is 7, but it's in the hundreds place, so it has a value of 700. Plus, we have the next digit, which is an 8 in the tens place, so it has a value of 80 because we have 8 tens. Plus my 3, which there's only 3 ones, so it's just adding 3. Plus 1/10. This is where we start getting mixed up, is they forget that decimal and they'll just put the 1. And that's not correct because this isn't 1 whole, it's 1/10. Plus 200ths. Now this is the other part that we get stuck on. When it's 200ths, I have to do my decimal. And the 2 needs to be in the hundreds place. So we have to put a 0 in the tens place for a placeholder. That's a big thing that a lot of times we get confused on. My kiddos are always do really well when it comes to the whole numbers in expanded form. But then when it gets to the decimals, we start getting a little mixed up. All right, well, let's try. Now we are in expanded form. Let's go to expanded notation. And when we hear expanded notation, I want you to think multiplication. Notation, multiplication. So I'm going to take the digit, open parenthesis, the first digit, which is 5, and I'm going to multiply it, so notation multiplication, times the place. And it's in the thousands place, so I'm doing 5 times 1,000. And if you notice, 5 times 1,000 is 5,000, which is what we had in expanded form. And now we add, and we're going to open parenthesis to our next digit, which we have the digit 7, and we're going to multiply it by its place. Well, the 7 is in the hundreds place, so I'm going to do 7 times 100, close parenthesis, and again, 7 times 100 is 700, and that's what I have in my expanded form. Now I can move on to tens, open parenthesis, 8 times 10, because I do my digit times my place, plus, open parenthesis, my 3 times 1, because my 3 is in the ones place, plus, now this is where we get tricky again. We're going to do our digit, which is the digit 1, but it has to be times the place, which is the 10th. So it's 1 times 1/10, and 1 times 1/10 is 1/10. Okay, Now they usually are able to get this part, but then when we get to the next place, that's when they start tripping up a little bit. So we do our open parenthesis, we do our digit, which is 2, times our place, which is 100. It's really important to make sure that the 1 is in the hundredths place, and we use a 0 for the placeholder for the tenths. And if I were to do, following my order of operations, doing all of my parentheses first and then adding them together from left to right, that would give me the final answer of 5,783 and 12 tenths. Okay, I want to do one more example so I can show you what it looks like when we have zeros mixed into our number. So let's do 3,407 and 62,000. Yeah. So I'm doing my expanded form first. So I'm going to take the value of the 3, which is 3,000. So I have my 3,000 plus 400. Now I don't have any 10, so I don't actually need to write any. So I'm skipping just to the ones place. So I'm doing plus 7 plus, well, now I don't have any tenths either, but I do have 6 hundredths. So I'm doing plus 6 hundredths plus 2,000. And I have to make sure that I'm writing my decimal and putting the digit in the correct place. If you don't, then the whole number is off. So this is my expanded form. I don't have to include where the zeros are because it's nothing there. It has 0 value. So now let's move on to expanded notation. And remember, I said notation, I want you to think, yep, multiplication. Excellent. So I'm going to do my 3 times 1,000 plus the digit 4 times 100, close parenthesis, plus open parenthesis. Now again, I don't have any tenths there, so I'm going to go straight to the ones. So I'm going to do my digit 7 times 1, close parenthesis, plus, and I don't have any tenths, so I'm going to go to the next place value, which is the hundredths. So I'm going to do the digit 6 times 100 plus, open parenthesis, the digit 2 times 1,000, close parenthesis. All right, guys, that's all I have for you today. If there's any other numbers you would like to see in expanded form and expanded notation, please let me know and I'll be happy to do a video for you. Thank you. Have a good one.